Welcome to Utah Stories. So, coming out of COVID, I noticed something very problematic with local restaurants. I kept hearing the same story over and over again. They couldn't hire the staff they needed, the reliable staff that would show up for the entry-level positions. And a lot of them, for this reason, had to close their doors or couldn't keep hours. And it's a major problem that I feel like the media is not covering in depth. And today on the program, we've got two awesome restaurateurs, two of my favorites in Salt Lake City. One of them, Mike Feldman, he has one of the best authentic Jewish delis in, I'd say, west of the Mississippi. He imports his pastrami from Carnegie in New York, and he pays so much attention to quality. It's just become a landmark institution in Mill Creek where he is at. The other, Richie Ranadelli, I'm kind of new to discovering his pizza shop. It's Villaggio Pizza on State Street, and it's also incredibly authentic, incredibly delicious. He imports all his cheese and his flour from also back east. So if you want to experience really excellent East Coast style, great food, these guys have started the best restaurants, two of the best restaurants found in Salt Lake City. Thanks for joining me, Richie and Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the big question, so how do you get quality workforce as a local business these days? Like what are some of the ideas that have worked or not worked?
I've tried all the websites, Indeed, Monster. The most I get is KSL and Craigslist. Some of the local websites here, Restaurant Shenanigans, you get some, but most of them are filling out their unemployment and using the application just to fulfill their unemployment needs, and they never show up.
Yeah.
I always put, you must apply in person, no resumes, and some people actually really want a job, but they have no experience. I do give them a break. The other ones, they just come in asking for a lot of money and never show up.
Yeah. And what's been how have you been able to hire people, Mike?
What works the best is just getting the word out to my employees that I need more employees and let the network bring candidates in. I've tried Craigslist and Indeed and Facebook. Facebook would bring me the most people interested, but didn't necessarily bring me people who were super serious about working. Mm-hmm. So like Ricky, I'm really disappointed in the quality of people that are out there looking for work in the restaurant industry. Used to be people who are looking for a part-time job while they're in school, or they're looking for an entry-level position to get some experience, would be out there, and you'd be able to find these people to come in and cover things like servers and busboys and dishwashers and stuff like that. You don't find those people out there anymore. I don't know where they've gone. I don't know if they're day trading or if they're living in their basement selling stuff on eBay. I just don't know. But you're not finding the same number of people out there looking for work. Mm. And it's not just in the restaurant industry. I've noticed banks don't keep the same hours they used to keep because they don't have enough tellers. My mechanic can't get to and do, an oil change on the spot. I've got to make an appointment because he doesn't have enough people in his shop to be able to handle all the small stuff. Mm-hmm. So it seems to be something that we're experiencing. These entry-level positions, whether they're blue collar or not, there's just not a lot of people interested in doing that kind of work anymore for whatever reason.
And I looked at the numbers, and workforce participation among able-bodied men and women between 18 and 60 is really low. It's
job
like
pool is scary.
Yeah, it's just people are not working,
and it's all over the country.
Yeah, and it used to be. I mean, you used to be able to blame COVID because everybody was getting their stimulus checks. And I just don't understand where. I mean, you see the homeless population is growing, and I look at these people and I think, God, a lot of these people could come and work for restaurant owners who are really trying to get their staff up. But are you seeing more people who just lack in the work ethic? Is that a major
one
problem?
of the things that changed during COVID is that a lot of people were given flexibility to work from home. And I think that has had an impact on the kind of jobs that people want to do now. They want the flexibility. But if you own a restaurant, if you own if you run a bank, or if you own a repair shop, you need people who are going to show up to work in person. You can't have people doing things from home. So certain parts of our economic strata has been adversely affected by the changes that we experienced in COVID.
Yeah, I think
And
you're right.
the from what I've witnessed, many parents do not want the children to bring COVID back into the house because they were deathly afraid of getting sick or getting it again. And now they're not rushing their kids to get out and get a job. Stay home.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go outside.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, wow, they're not busting my chops to go out and work anymore. So I'm going to be home and play video games.
Well, and another aspect to this that I see is when you have people in your company and they're a little older, if they have those soft skills in place because they worked at a Feldman's Deli or at a Villaggio, they know how to work with customers, they have a retail background, they're so much easier to train, they're so much easier to give feedback to. Does it seem like a lot fewer teenagers are willing to take on a difficult job and learn?
What I'm seeing a lot of these kids under 25 years old, because they're labeled a kid under 26 according to insurance now. Back in the day when we grew up, we were grown men at 18. Go to war, Vietnam, very different.
Mm-hmm.
Drinking age, everything's different. Now these kids come in, most of them are introverts. They're sitting behind a texting device or a computer. Now they get to have to answer the phone. The phone rings, they panic. 20 people walk in the door, they panic. They can't interact. So some of them start hyperventilating. They didn't even last 2 hours. I mean, our place gets packed. Mike's place gets packed. If you get shy around 10 people, these aren't the restaurants for you.
and why can't they handle it?
I don't
It just
know.
Never. It's just going from
one kid
just
came
too-
in. He was 16. His father, a big kid, and his parents brought him in, and we hired him. And he gets nervous when there's people in front of him, so he rings them up, and then he couldn't count the change. And we didn't know why he froze, and he just was like, how many pennies? But it tells you when the denomination, what change to give, and he couldn't count the change. And we noticed he had a problem with that. So I talked to the mother. She says he has some kind of stigma or whatever. When he gets excited, his mind goes blank. But I mean, several people come in, they answer the phone, and they start stuttering. They didn't last no more than a few hours. But this is going maybe 7 times this happened.
Wow, with different people.
Yeah,
where
and
they just couldn't cut it.
Then all of a sudden you get these real sharp guys coming in, but they want to come in, do just a few hours or something, and they're looking for $20-something an hour. But they were real sharp. They know they're sharp.
My observation, and this is my opinion, and I don't have any scientific facts or figures to back this up, but just my observation is that our generation and the generation, just younger than my generation, as we're raising kids, I think we've changed a lot in how we bring our kids up. When I was a kid, from the time I was like 5 years old, I was out playing in the front yard with my neighbors. 6, 7 years old, I was walking down the railroad tracks, picking punks and pussy willows and stuff like that, building tree houses in the woods. We'd stayed outside until we heard our middle name, because then we knew we had to go in. But we were out. We were socializing. We were figuring stuff out. We were building tree houses with, we had to MacGyver everything. And so when you're brought up under that kind of circumstance, you learn how to get things done.
Yeah.
Today, I see parents are doing too much for their kids. They're doing the kids' homework. They're dropping them off at college and setting up their rooms to make sure that everything's okay. What we call helicopter parents. Kids don't walk to their soccer games. They're driven to their soccer games. The parents are scheduling all their activities for them, so the kids really don't have to figure much out for themselves.
And some schools aren't even keeping score, so there's nobody, no one suffers loss.
Right. They're giving out participation trophies instead of, winning, for winning something. So I think the shift has changed where the kids that are coming up feel like they're the center of attention, and they don't know what it's like to not be the center of attention and just have to, get things done by yourself. Nobody's going to come in here and do my homework for me.
It's huge what he said.
Yeah. So I think there's been a cultural change in what children are capable of doing because of the way we are providing too much assistance to them.
Yeah.
I mean, today, 28-year-old kid can't afford an apartment. Where's he living? With mom, still. I left the house at 17.
Yeah.
I never went back home.
Never to return.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's like it could be described what my generation, Generation X, they called it the latchkey kids. Yeah. You show up back home, there's nobody home. Right. You watch TV, you go out with friends, and there's not this adult supervision at all the time. But then for some reason, our kids, Gen X's kids, and we decided we got to be super careful because you get online, you see this sex predator map, and you see there's like 50 dots within 10 feet of your house, and it's got to be inflated, and everybody's just afraid.
But it still comes down to parenting 101. My whole family, my cousins have 3-4 kids apiece. They're not included in this conversation. Even though they're very wealthy, they teach their kids values like we did. They have the paper route. They shovel the snow. They wash the cars in the driveway, even though they're in a 10,000 square foot house. This is what was taught. 16 years old, they get a car, they have to pay the insurance, or they have to pay the note and the gas. They got to go out and work. Do they have to? No. This is my whole family's like that. So it is still parenting 101.
Yeah, teaching your kids independence from a young age. Yeah.
Exactly.
Being able to rely on yourself and not have to rely on anybody else to take care of whatever needs to be taken care of. I've heard some of my employees panicking because they had to switch health insurance and didn't know how to go about doing it. They just didn't know. And these are employees that are in their 30s, and they're panicking because they just don't know.
It's scary.
Because mom and dad used to do that for them all the time.
You have employees where you do have to constantly communicate with the parents, like you're running a daycare.
I had one employee, a busboy. The mother was there all the time, and she would come in and want to talk to me because I gave her kid feedback that he was standing in the corner on his cell phone instead of looking around and trying to figure out what needs to be done in the dining room. And he complained to his mother, and his mother came in and complained to me.
She'd probably had years of practice doing that in high school and college. And
I don't know.
Well, you know something, we're talking about the workforce across the country. It's not just here. I just took a vacation to the French Quarter. Famous restaurants that you wouldn't, they invented food down there. Whoa.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And all of a sudden, I can't get a reservation now till 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. You go in, it's empty. They don't have the staff. They only booked half the dining room.
Wow.
So everybody's feeling it. But now you wonder why some of the ethnic groups are the workforce of this country. Without them, where would we be?
Right.
Yeah, it seems like they haven't forgotten that kids got to go out and play. Kids got to go out and get beat up. They got to learn to solve problems.
But these guys that came, especially from Mexico, they're coming here and they're working so hard. They're making more money than anybody, and they're still sending money back home to support the family. And they're still living good and have a good, nice car.
And
Yeah.
during COVID, a lot of that workforce left our country because we refused to take care of their health issues because they didn't have insurance. There weren't enough urgent cares that they could go to. There weren't enough emergency rooms for them to go to. So a lot of them left. The number of people who used to be available for the kind of work that we're talking about has dropped dramatically because a lot of the folks went back to their home countries.
I haven't heard that. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's sad.
And also the construction.
Mm-hmm.
Construction and shipping picked off a
But
lot
no
of
one's
people out
working.
of the kitchens.
No one works as hard as them.
Yeah.
Just doesn't exist.
When you would ask people in my kitchen if they're taking a day off, their response is, from which job?
Really.
Because most of my people that work for me have a second job.
Yeah. And I've heard this. So I've heard this debate that AI and robots are going to displace so much of the workforce, and we need a universal basic income. That the baseline of our needs needs to be met because all this new technology is going to displace so many workers.
In
What's
certain
your opinion?
fields, yes. In certain fields, no. My field's going automated. If you went to the Vegas Show Pizza Expo, you have machines that you hook water up, put the flour in, it does everything. You could just hire a kid after school, put the sauce and cheese, put it on a conveyor belt. The timer cooks the pie. That guy on the end puts it in a box and it gets delivered.
Is that going to taste like a Villaggio pizza?
No, that's why it doesn't bother me in the least. The guy that's hand tossing, the guy that's cooking, get up in the morning and cooks from raw, from scratch, from raw ingredients. That's what's going to make me golden.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody that sees the profit in pizza and wow, the guy's just a businessman.
Mm-hmm.
But he could rent the place, buy that equipment, and he could make pizza in the next day.
But one of the things that's driving this is the consumer's lack of discretion of what they want to eat. There's not as much demand for high quality, authentic ethnic foods as there used to be.
Which amazes me because it's such a vast difference between the quality and the taste and the
It is, but
Also,
they don't
it's
care.
where you grew up.
yeah.
When you grew up in New York City per se, doesn't matter what country you're from, there's an authentic restaurant in that city that's making that food. Now, once you've tasted that food or just tasted pastrami in New York
what
City,
pastrami is supposed to taste like.
pizza in New York City. Now you leave that area, and all of a sudden, wow, I wish I had that pastrami. I wish I had that pizza. Then you get guys like us opening up and bringing it to a different neighborhood, different state on the other side of the country. There you shine.
Yeah.
And you know something? You got people driving to eat his sandwich. People driving to eat this pizza. It exists. But
Yeah.
it doesn't. If you are born and raised here, West Coast, you like what you've been brought up on. You're good with Pizza Hut, Domino's. They don't care about.
But I was
pizza.
raised on that crap, and like me and my friends, if we were going out after baseball practice, we'd get Little Caesars for $3, and
Sure,
we'd be
you
okay.
can't
But
beat
then,
the price.
as soon as you start to realize, wow, this pizza doesn't taste like rubber, and this is like crust, and you start to understand that if you wanna experience something rather than just make your stomach full, you got to go to a good local restaurant where they're making it.
Well, Rick and I depend on people like you have a discriminating palate. You understand the quality and are willing to pay the little bit extra in order to get something authentic. Unfortunately, the food industry as a whole, it's a marketing play. You see ads on TV for chain restaurants, for franchises. You don't see the investment in introducing people to the better quality food. And when you have one-off owner-operator restaurants competing against these chains, it's really not fair because their economy of scale is so great they can buy their supplies at such a lower cost than what we have to pay. So we depend on people like you who are willing to pay that little bit extra in order to get authentic cuisine.
Yeah.
Plus, and then you're looking at speed. These new pizza chains, Blaze, Mott, they make them pizzas in 4 minutes. You're looking at a double convected electric ovens that have a conveyor belt, so there is no chef. That conveyor belt, just like a bagel toaster, you put it on the speed you want it. That's how it goes through. That pie's done when it comes out to the end. No one has to keep looking at that. It's a no-brainer. But now you're looking at them 10-inch pies cooking. How many? 3 minutes. So now most of these places started their prototype near a university. So when they came out for lunch, they're packed, and they made sure they got all the bugs out before they went with the franchise.
I don't think I heard of those. What did you say they're called?
Blaze.
Mod.
Oh, there's
Mod. Yeah, I've heard of Mod.
But there's like I said, there's
a Blaze in
several of them. One was sold out before one was ever opened.
Wow.
They sold all the franchises and the areas all over the country.
Conveyor belt pizza, and that's
that. You know something that double convect? That's Big Daddy.
Oh, really?
Look at the size of those ovens. They got a conveyor belt that's 10 feet long. You could put 10, 12 pies on there. And the guys are just looking at the screens, opening up the drawer, taking an already pre-made dough, putting the toppings on it, turning around, putting it on the conveyor belt, and he don't have to think no more. Go to the next one.
Yeah.
The flavor's not there.
Texture's not there.
They're killing it. They're the only one that, and now they're all over the place. Park City, they're all over that. They can deliver anywhere. They're the only one that goes near the airport.
That's the Mod. Huh.
That's Big Daddy.
Big Daddy.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're looking at, you have to stay overnight near the airport. There's nothing to eat there.
Yeah.
And anybody that delivers there is golden.
Is there any way your model could begin to flourish and take more market share away from more chains? Or do you not even see yourself competing?
You want to know something? If I had the employees, I would have had 2 other locations already. One in Heber. I lost that. The 2 guys backed out, a chef and a cook, a pizza man. Without the help, you can't do anything. Back home, it was all family. We're all family. All our cousins, uncles, everybody, we just kept opening them up.
We had plans to expand, but the labor shortage changed the way we view our business. We're happy to be fully staffed at our one location, but I couldn't imagine how exponentially more difficult it would be to have more than one location. You just can't find the people.
Nowadays, it's rough.
Well, it's actually really smart. You see that problem because I've seen so many great restaurants who wanted to duplicate and go off.
They keep opening up.
They just
Look at these big chains.
They're
opening up all over the place.
There are many examples of restaurants that grew too fast and collapsed back down to just a few locations.
Yeah.
Right here in Salt Lake City, there's plenty of those examples.
But if you notice the new chains that quite a few just opened up here over the last year or two, they offered very high-paying salaries. I mean, a line chef, $26, chefs up to $30. People left their jobs, why not, to go work with them, and then they hired so many, and then they picked the best of the best. The other ones, they let go, and then they told the ones that they were promised this amount of money, we could only pay you this. Some people got mad and left, and some people stood. Little America was one. I know several people that left Current to go work there, and then they left because they lied.
Oh, really?
And Capitol Grill. And I buy Capitol Grill every weekend. I love those people. It's my go-to place.
Capitol Grill?
Capitol Grill downtown. You want oysters, you want...
Have to check it out.
Good steak.
Probably Ted's written about it.
They got a Chilean sea bass that is unbelievable. Anyway, these are your go-to places. There's some great restaurants in Salt Lake.
Yeah, and there's some really good Italian. I didn't know. I knew, like you mentioned, Celeste. I think you're the one that told me about him first.
Carmine's Osteria Amore.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as we get more East Coast folks moving out here to the Great Basin, it seems like you just see more and more of that.
They drive an hour to come see me.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I want to pause for a minute. and then I want to get back and to have you guys tell your stories, why you opened your restaurants and how you did it, the special ingredients you add that really make all the difference. So we'll take like a 1-minute pause and be back. All right, we're back with two of Salt Lake's best restaurateurs, Mike Feldman and Richie Rondinelli.
Yes.
And I want to get the stories of these guys. They both have awesome stories about why they opened in Salt Lake City. Before I do, I want to show you, this is the story we produced in our June issue, the rising cost of addiction. We just kept hearing also how the negative side of marijuana being basically legalized is a lot of people showing up to work stoned, a lot of people who think that there's no problem whatsoever with smoking a big huge bong hit before you go into work. What do you guys think about that? Has that been a problem in your...
It's a big problem. And then you see the attitude on them. I said, look, there is no cigarette break. You got to stay in the room. Well, can we vape? I said, if it's every 2 seconds, no. They go near the exhaust, they take a puff. Now one guy is adding something to the vape. Within the hour, he changes tremendously, and you cut yourself. You got knives, you're at an oven that's 700 degrees. You touch your arm on that door, and you can't be stoned doing what we do.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. If you could, I'd fine. I wish I could.
Yeah, a lot of people think it's medicine, and you commented in that story, Richie. That's the article. And what's your opinion? Has that been a problem for you at all?
We've had a couple of employees that had substance abuse issues. 2 of them that I know of went into rehab. You can definitely tell in the morning when somebody's hungover or if they're stoned when they show up to work. You also find people who work for you and, some beer's missing, or they go back into the bathroom and you find, small bottles of Jim Beam or whatever in there. Mm-hmm. And you can tell by their behavior, their ability to focus and get things done that they're not quite all there. Mm-hmm. I've had to confront 2 employees over the years because of that. I had one employee slip and fall and split his head open because he was under the influence in the kitchen, and he just moved too quickly near a hot stove and he went flying. This is what happens when people aren't paying attention. It is a problem. I haven't had too much of that, though. Knock on wood for me that it's only been a couple of occasions, but you can definitely notice it when you've got employees who are under the influence.
Yeah, we noticed here, we had a couple of employees during COVID. It was really hard for us, like all small businesses, hiring people who wanted to remain sober, and we had two employees who were way into the whole medical cannabis thing, and like, this is working, miracles for us. For me, it's like I can focus better, and I can do so much more work, and they're just enthusiasts about
There's
it.
no place for that in the market.
And I just say, no, but not while you're working.
Right.
You're not going to do a better job
I've
working.
had so
while you're
many.
stoned.
It's ridiculous, but we have a smaller crew than he does. It's a smaller venue as well. I want to get to know my employees. I take them out to lavish dinners, and when they're out, now you get to know them. You know what I mean? They're doing a shot in a beer. How many? Because they could have anything you want, but that's how you get to know them.
Mm-hmm.
And one guy kept going out. I don't let nobody go out to their car no more. I'm done. If you can't bring what you need into this place when you come in, I only got 6-hour shifts.
Mm-hmm.
I got to go out to the car. No way. Next time you go out, you don't come back.
Yeah.
So they're going out to their car, taking a couple of hits, or they're drinking. One guy had a cooler. He asked everybody else, man, why don't you take a break? Let's go have one. I got cold ones in the car. Then I told him, you can't go out no more. So what did he do? He brought the beer in, put it under the counter where he was making the pie. And they come and told me, did you realize he's got beer underneath there? And I go there and I tell him he's got to leave. Well, if I'm fired, then I'm finishing my beer. And he snatches it out of my hand and starts drinking. Then you grab him by the shirt and throw him out, and the cops come and want to arrest me.
No kidding.
I'm the bad guy.
I mean, I think the audacity to think you could be making pizza while you're drinking a 6-pack. That's
This is what we're up against. This is it.
Yeah, I can't fathom why somebody think they get away with it, and they think that that's somehow going to slide. But I'd like to hear each of your individual stories. I've heard more of your story, Mike, than Richie's, but start with you, Mike. Like, what made you decide? You had no restaurant experience at all. In fact, you were a much different industry before
Right.
Feldman's.
I was in biotech my entire professional career. I came to Salt Lake City to help set up the Olympic drug testing. I'm a medicinal chemist by training, and had a good run in biotech until 2008 when we sold our second company and the market was crashing and the valuations weren't good. And to start another biotech company would have required a lot of capital, and terms for borrowing money were ridiculously onerous. So I turned to my wife and I said, what do you want to do? She grew up in a family bakery, and we're from Jersey. So she said she didn't want to get up at 2 a.m. anymore, and I don't blame her for that. So we took bakery off the table, but we had this real quick discussion. I says, what do we know from Jersey that's missing here? And we both said there's no deli here. And we started looking for real estate, and we found a really nice location that's near the largest synagogue in Utah, in between the U and Westminster, on a corner in a neighborhood that had a couple of strong businesses on the corner, with a parking lot that allowed people who were going to drive there to park easily, though it's getting harder nowadays because we're so busy, but at least there was off-street parking for them. And one thing led to another, and a year after we found the property, we were open for business. Feldman's Deli has done really, really well. Ted, who works for you now, gave us our first review about 6 weeks after we opened, and it's been a rocket ride ever since.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And how did you decide that you had to bring the pastrami in from New York, that you could not satisfy
Can't get
your
it here.
Well, if we,
pastrami need?
because we're from Jersey, and because my wife's family, was in the bakery business, we had a pretty high standard for what the product needs to be in order for us to be happy about doing it. There's no infrastructure to do what we do here in Utah. So in order to get the real corned beef and pastrami that's been made the same way since, the 20s and 30s, we had to source it from back east. We had to find a bakery that was going to make real Jewish rye bread for us. We had to make sure that we brought deli mustard and pickles and real New York cheesecake in, so that when we said that we were a traditional, authentic Jewish deli, people who grew up with Jewish delis would actually be able to relate to what we were doing. The last thing we wanted is somebody to come in and says, "Yeah, we had Jewish delis in our neighborhood, and this is nothing like what we grew up with." I wanted all the cynics to come in and go, "Wow, I didn't think it could be done."
Mm-hmm.
But that was our goal, was to create an authentic Jewish deli experience. But to do that, we had to source our essential ingredients from back in New York.
And so you have to lease a part of a semi truck every couple of weeks to bring you your pastrami.
Yeah, so there's a term LTL. So we have a pallet that goes on a truck that's coming across country. We work with a transport broker that works with Costco. So they're bringing stuff from the East Coast in order to fill up the Costco's here, and buried in the back of their truck is Feldman's Deli, one pallet, a ton of product twice a month.
Nice. Yeah. So tell me your story, Richie.
It was kind of simple. First of all, my family's been doing pizza restaurant for over 80 years. They were all immigrants from Italy, came through Ellis Island like everybody else and they killed it. They didn't speak English, so you learned everything by look and feel, because my parents wanted us to speak English, because back in those days you didn't get the good paying jobs. I got bored with the pizza business. I'm like, is this it for me? Pepperoni, sausage? You know what I mean? I was in the pro sports field for a while, went back to school, got a BFA in art, advertising and marketing in Manhattan for almost 20 years. Came out here to retire, to go to Vegas. Stopped at my family's house in Park City, never left. Park City's gorgeous. I just never got enough of it. But now living here, I was bored, so I started driving truck and, dump truck and local places around here. But every Sunday I wanted to get some Italian food, and it was non-existent, especially up there. Down here, all the places were closed on Sunday. I didn't know. Now all of a sudden I'm driving locally down here, and I just wanted a piece of pizza, no pizza. Nothing compared to what I was used to. So I just said, man, if these guys are packed selling that, I got to be able to do something here. It's second nature for me. So I found a blue-collar neighborhood, South State Street, near 3300. And it was a brand new store. And it had a grease trap already set up. I just rented it, and I didn't know I couldn't get the ingredients out here. I might have thought twice. So I give all the distributors, here's my list. We can't get that. I don't have this. So now I got to rent the warehouse, do what he does.
Mm-hmm. That's what I really found interesting.
I have an account with ABF Freight, and whatever I need, I try to make it worth my while. So I try to get at least 8 to 12 pallets at a clip. And you just rent warehouse space. And there you go.
And you store your cheese? Or
I'm in control of the flour and the tomato and canned goods. So which is nice, because now my food costs are good for 6 months at a clip, 4 months at a clip, without fluctuating. But I have the flavor. I got the water purifier system that 3M devised for us that matches the area code of the Bronx as close as you can get, because the water's very hard out here. I jetted the ovens, adjust everything.
You have a water purifier that matches the Bronx water?
As far as close as you're going to get. The guy made me hold on for 20 minutes.
That's crazy.
He says, man, it's a 3-canister system, all 3M products. 3-canister system. I switch them out every 6 months. And I use that water, and I nailed the flavor right off the bat. It took about 3 mixes
the crust is
to get the yeast right.
Yeah.
But after that, with the ovens adjusted, I'm happy.
So why can't you get the tomato sauce that's just from Cisco? What's wrong with that tomato
First
sauce?
of all, one company had this, one company didn't have that. Then the price point. These are all Stanislaus products. The best tomato, Northern California. Tommy Cottopassi. That's his farms, thousands of acres. You're not going to bring in tomatoes from Italy. The pie's expensive enough. These are the best products you could get. The grande cheese is the best you're going to get. I use Corto olive oil extra virgin, everything that's on that pie, all the cold cuts, all the toppings, boar's head. There's no pre-sliced stuff from the depot.
I was absolutely blown away because I never knew you existed, and then I discover you next to my barber, and I'm like, what the heck is this? And it was just like so outstanding.
You know, it's just, and there is no secrets here. Just like his wife gets up in the morning and she cooks her behind off. There's no. It's not like she's sitting there as a manager. She's sweating.
Still.
This is what I'm saying. That's the difference between
these are your
you get up in the morning,
retirement plans.
You get up.
You're both retired.
You want to know something? I can't sit still. Since I got here, I had to drive for Lyft.
But your plan was to be retired, right?
Yes. This is
you're
part
working
of it.
10, 12-hour days.
But just to, you know something, back home, because of your family background, everybody thinks whatever you did, that's because you're a Rondinelli. That's because you're a this, you're a that. I came out here, I don't know nobody. And I'm not Mormon. You open up a place and you see success, you feel so much better than you did back in New York. I'm a dime a dozen back in New York. We all do the same thing. Over here, I'm shining.
Yeah, we're big fish in a small pond out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all it is getting up in the morning and cook homemade. That's it.
Yeah.
Nothing's heated up. Nothing's frozen. Nothing's from the depot.
And despite the labor shortage and the challenges, and
I'm just working 12 hours a day.
You still no regrets.
I've gone in to grab some slices from him, and he just looks exhausted.
It's funny. The second time I went back to your place, there's Mike in line, and I just thought, man, we got to get both you guys.
But some of these customers, they're there 3-4 days a week. The guys, the businesses that come for lunch, you get to know them and you love them. That you would never, ever put something old on the pie. Those are my friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you just make sure everything is perfect every morning.
That's kind of what I wanted to get at. It's like when you hand make food and you put so much of your passion and your energy and your thought into making this great product, it seems like you develop a much better connection to
Without
the
a doubt.
community and the customers
Without a
and this
doubt.
whole social fabric idea. It seems like that's what it's made of.
And I wish my grandmother could see this. Both my grandmothers, one's from Naples, the other one's Calabria. Between the eggplant parmesan, the meatballs, what we bring, those are their recipes. I didn't invent nothing. I just got a marketing background this is my 17th lease, so do I know business? Yes. But those are grandma's recipes. I did not invent these pizzas. We design them because I'm an artist. They have to look good. But, man, you get up in the morning and you make this stuff fresh, these people will eat.
Same. The bagels that we make every day and the rye bread that's made for us downtown are Janet's dad's recipes.
Awesome.
Nice.
So that's why it's authentic. And I'll tell you, the customer that becomes a regular at our places, I can certainly speak for my place, they understand what it takes for us to provide the quality, and they really don't care that they're spending a little bit more money, and they come often. You know, there are so many people that I know them by name. They walk in, you know, we start kibitzing, and it's a social thing for me to hang around the restaurant schmoozing with customers.
Yeah.
Because I know so many of them, and I know that they appreciate what we're doing. 95% of my customers are repeat customers. I mean, that's a pretty good hit rate.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
And for those people that don't understand what we do, I always invite them to go to Subway.
Yeah.
Well, you know, so when you're looking at the cost of his sandwich, first of all, if you go to Katz's, it's $25 for the same sandwich.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, whatever he's charging for the sandwich, when you eat, after you eat that sandwich, you need a nap.
Yeah. That's true.
If you finish your sandwich and you're like,
It
I'm
is
still
so
hungry,
huge.
there's something wrong.
And I usually just can't help myself. I eat the whole thing.
Because
But then I
it's
go to
deli
the food
addiction.
coma.
And that sloppy Joe, I can't finish it.
Yeah.
My guy, my main guy, Johnny, he loves the sloppy Joe. He eats it in 3.4 seconds. then he's hurting. Then he's like, he's all messed up.
Can he make a pizza after that?
No.
He's out of commission.
So we share. I get the Reuben, he gets that, and we share, because I can't eat the whole thing. You can't even open up your mouth to get the bite in there.
Yeah, it's
That's
huge.
how big the sandwich is.
Tradition.
No, it is what it is, and you don't even mind paying the price.
And it's like you didn't raise your prices that much from COVID, even though food costs went through the roof.
We've
So
tried to
I
do
think
what
it's a
we
bargain
can.
now.
Yeah.
It's
I haven't raised my
$17 or
slice at
something
all.
like that.
My $3 slices, it's going on 4 years.
Yeah.
Or a foot long $3 slice. I'm in a blue collar neighborhood. I do not want to disappoint my lunch crowd by raising the price on the slices.
Well, you guys do a great job, and it's fun to have you in your respective neighborhoods and know these landmarks where you can get a great bite to eat when you want it. And
But
it's really cool.
the true mark of a good entrepreneur, restaurateur, is being able to roll with the punches. You know, it's not easy doing what we do. There's no formula that we're following. We're just trying to make the best possible product possible, and we stick to our ideal of we want our customer to say that you've got to go to Feldman's, you got to go to Villaggio, because you're going to get the real deal there. They're not going to cut any corners. They're going to give you the best eating experience that you'll have in Salt Lake City. It means more to me to know that my customers can count on getting the same experience every time they come in. Not have to. I never want to hear my customers saying, "Oh, you changed something. You're not getting the meat the way you used to get the meat. Your bread's different." Yada yada yada. So we work really hard to maintain
The continuity.
the consistency for our brand.
Yeah.
You know what's funny as well? I got to admit, everybody who works as hard as we do and put those hours in, we all know each other.
How do you?
I patronize their restaurants. They come to me because I know they're in the back cooking.
Yeah. Well, it makes all the difference.
Oh,
It's so sad when you go to a place and they're taking the week off, you know. They're thinking they can be absentee owners after their first successful year, and then you're just like eating the food and oh my gosh, it's just you're disappointed. Then you don't really.
they
feel
want to
like
see
going
your
back.
face.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big deal.
I go in, I see his wife in the back. I'm happy. Plus, I get a hug and a kiss. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, you see him, you see her, then you're safe.
Yeah.
You want to see the owners there. You want to see the people that are actually putting their hands on the food.
Yeah, it's a great thing.
Some of you go to Sicilian Me, you want to see Giuseppe. You know what I mean? You want to see the uncle. You want who's making the pizza. You know, you go to Osteria Ramore, you want to see Eduardo. Carmine's, you want to see Carmine.
Seems like you eat out a lot.
You know something? I'm only off 1 day a week, but when I go out to eat, I order the whole menu. If I sit by myself and they give me a little deuce, and I say, "Can I sit over there?" And, "Well, with that table's booked." I said, "Well, where are you going to put all this food?" And I start ordering 5 or 6 items. Then they got to put it on the chair, whatever. Then they move me
Wow.
because I don't get it. I'm not going to eat the whole everything. I just want to taste. Then they
That's
remember who you are.
Yeah.
And I want to support locally owned,
Yes.
one-off restaurants, because number one, I know how hard it is. Number two, I know there's a much better chance that I'm going to get high quality food, and I want to make sure I'm supporting the community that's been supporting me.
Well, and I
Very
think
important.
I think just to circle it back, if you're have a family, you're raising kids, and they're about to get into that workforce, and they need to learn what it means to have a work ethic and work hard. I started washing dishes when I was 15. I think it was the greatest thing I ever did. I learned how to roll with the punches, like you said, and it's just a great idea. Just get your kid prepped to go out and work for a local restaurant, not for these chains where they want you to behave like a robot, but where you can work with an owner.
Both my boys worked in the deli, and one's now, having graduated from the U, has now been promoted to general manager of Feldman's Deli. So we've got a legacy being developed here.
That's way cool. And
That's
you said
gonna be
he got a bachelor's in math or something like that?
Yeah, so he can count the money. No, well, we had a really short conversation. With his degree in mathematics, either he could become, he can work for Goldman Sachs, or he can become an actuary for an insurance company, or he can become a rocket scientist, or he could take over a successful business. Your choice. That was our whole career discussion, and he decided to take over a successful business.
Yeah.
Uses all of his skills.
Yeah. Well, and you think about, if these kids coming out of the U and they got brains and talent, lending all that brains and talent to a place like Goldman Sachs is cheating out their investors and paying the SEC these giant fines. You got to feel better about helping the local community than taking on helping Wall Street corporations.
Everything's different nowadays in that corporate world.
Yeah.
Well, with taking over the deli, it's not that we're gone. It's just that he's now the one who's doing all the heavy lifting.
Mm-hmm.
Janet still goes in, makes bagels. I still go in and schmooze with customers, and I write the checks and do all the banking. So it's not like we're not involved, and we're not going away. But it's nice to know that he has something that he can now nurture and grow for himself. We did the heavy lifting in order to create Feldman's Deli. He's young enough where he can plan on where he's going to take Feldman's Deli.
Right.
Plus, you got to feel real good because of that trust factor, that family's in there.
Yep.
That's huge.
He's been working there since he was 13. My older boy used to work there as well, although he's in California touring with James Taylor right now, but that's besides the point. But knowing that you've got somebody who knows the front and the back of the business, and being a math major, it's going to be easy for him to be able to adapt to running the financial end of any business. The devil's in the detail.
Yeah, and finance part is huge.
Right, and
yeah.
so having that background is going to be useful for him as well.
It does work out really, really well. I mean, the education I had prior, I could write up these spreadsheets in Excel. All I got to do is the flour went up 14 cents. I push in 14, and the whole column changes.
Yeah.
But it took time to set that up. Now that it's all set up, I could give it to someone else to use, put their own numbers in.
So you mentioned off camera you helped launch other Villaggio type pizzas.
I was the owner of several of them. I'm still on paper there now. That's all family.
Huh.
You know what I mean? That's my social security number on that account.
Huh. And they're still in operation. You're not the owner.
Yeah, this is you have a multitude between Westchester and the Bronx. The Manhattan places are closed permanently, and those other places are cranking. They're some of them there since the 70s. Same location. They're not going nowhere.
Well, it just seems like there should be more Feldmans and more Villaggios out there. It's just kind of
something. If this workforce should ever change, it's right around the corner. If it happens before I die.
yeah.
It's all about the fact that I landed a good deal up in Heber. Tom Stone, the developer, he's the main guy that owns all those 1904 buildings.
Mm-hmm.
To build me out a spot, I just couldn't land a chef and a pizza guy. I will not put that investment without those people in play.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sure you'd kill it up there. Well, thanks so much, guys, for coming on.
Thank
really
you. Thanks for
appreciate it.
having me.
It's been great talking to you.
We enjoyed participating with you.
Yeah. So check out Feldman's, check out Villaggio. If you haven't checked them out, you'll absolutely love them for lunch or dinner. Old Juice telling jokes. That was one of my favorite events to go to.
We are going to have another one. I don't have a date for it yet, but I just got a thumbs up from my wife and my son that probably in the fall we'll do another one.
Cool. Yeah, so support authentic local restaurants, and if you want to support authentic local journalism, this is Utah Stories Magazine. We've been selling a lot of subscriptions because these run out really quickly and they're hard to come by. Your subscription helps us produce this podcast. It helps us cover the printing cost. It's $3 a month. That's $36 for the entire year. Go subscribe and support the best of local Utah. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.